A pleasant good evening. This is Pali Online Thought Leadership Series and the number 5th one in terms of the interview with some identified iconic thought leaders in our nation. We are excited to have a bishop as our guest. I will bring him in a moment, but let's have a few introductions about him. Once upon a time, he was the director in charge of administration, Assemblies of God, Ghana. He's also been the director for Youth Ministry, AG, Ghana. He once upon a time again was the chair of our Prisons Council. Currently, he is the West Africa Program Coordinator for Global Leadership, a US-based leadership development organization. He is also the Bishop of the Airwaves. Once I mentioned this, some people have gotten the clue already. He's been a resident bishop at Cedar FM over decades. Sometimes it is amazing how he's able to combine all of this, and he's significantly the chief shepherd or the lead pastor for Cedar Mountain Chapel, a mega church of the Assemblies of God, Ghana. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my guest, your guest for Pali Online, 5th edition of Thought Leadership Series, is Reverend Dr. Stepehn Wengam. Reverend Dr. Stepehn Wengam, you are welcome to Pali Online.
Thank you, Chief Paddy. I get that the title.
Yes, sir.
For this great honor to be on this huge platform, a distinguished platform of Pali, Ghana. I'm honored.
These are kind words, and your viewers would want to know, what is your secret for your ability to keep pace and sustain yourself over the years with spiritual authority in terms of spiritual order, leadership, even in public service space, shepherd over a thriving mega church, combining all this together, and of course an international figure of many reputes, going overseas to minister, running conferences all over the continent. How are you able to do this, Reverend Wengam?
Well, on several platforms, I've been asked this question.
Amen.
I'll begin by crediting the grace of God, because Paul would normally say that not I, but God.
Amazing.
If I watch my life, it's been so from day one. I've always found myself doing multiple things, and I tend to guess that I'm more effective when I come under pressure.
Oh.
Yeah, because in
That's
secondary school, I was Scripture Union president, at the same time school prefect of Tema Senior High School.
Oh, so combining the two together.
Perfect. Even national service, I served as district secretary for NASPA in Upper West region, while serving in the church with other roles.
So the leadership thing is in your DNA.
Well, you are right to an extent. I remember right from preparatory school, always either class prefect or school prefect. So probably that's been God's way of preparing me for divine assignment.
Wonderful, wonderful. So viewers, Rev is crediting everything that he's done. And you'll be amazed if he should tell you his age and what he has accomplished already. Maybe you have to guess. I don't know, but
I pray you don't go there.
Viewers, you got to guess it yourself. But I can assure you that he's not that old at all.
Thank you. Because many a time people give me far more than I am, but he said I'm very young.
I know. If you want to know, see me in chambers. Reverend, a very important issue is going on. every eye is set on the almighty United States because there's an election going on right now. Let me ask you before we go into the substantial issues, do you have a favorite? Do you have a side, or we should just wait for destiny to decide?
Well, normally when it comes to politics, I'm very discretional. Again, because I pastor a religious organization, and in my church, you have members who belong to different political persuasions. So if you're a leader of such a group, if you are not careful and you state who your favorite is, it can unsettle some people. But obviously, my faith is paramount. So I'm for a candidate who honors God, a candidate who is pro-life, a candidate who is against abortion, homosexuality, gay marriage. These are things I won't compromise about. So any candidate whose manifesto leans towards this probably will be my candidate in this American election.
Wow. So according to Reverend Dr. Wengam, it's about values and the value we protect, which he says that it's uncompromised at all. And so I know you know by now who his card will go for. Let me follow up back home here. And there's been an issue about exposing fake ministers in courts, and some believe that let all of them grow, and then at the right time, at the 11th hour or in the day of judgment, probably the bad notes will be filtered out. Some also believe that no, let's expose those who are not, because they are not, making the name of the kingdom as it is. Rev, what is your take on that? Should we, as a state, as a people, should we be conscious of those who are using the name of the Bible to sometimes scheme people and sometimes take advantage of, undue advantage of the vulnerable? Or we should keep mute and for that said, touch not my anointed? What's your take on that, Reverend Dr. Wengam?
Unfortunately, in this country, everything is politicized. And speaking to such simple issues, if you are not careful, you'll be tagged, or you may be straying into areas that the repercussions may be unpleasant. Not that I'm afraid, I'm not afraid, but it gets to a point you also want to protect your image. My take is this, like Christ said, to a large extent, let them grow together. I will not pass judgment.
Okay.
The state has a duty to protect the citizens. And therefore, if any person's activity is contradicting our rules, our laws, the law must take its course. We shouldn't say that in the name of touch not my anointed. If it's a purely criminal case, let the laws deal with whoever it is. So, yes, indeed, some of the activities of some of my colleagues are worrying. We must understand that not everybody who calls him or herself a pastor is one. Christ said, many are called, only few will be chosen. Of course, many were called, but you see, only few are chosen. So what happens is that some indeed started well along the line.
That's true.
As we put it in the Akan language, some diverted and tried to mix the genuine thing with something else.
That's right.
So obviously, such will not be chosen.
That's right.
At the end. So I'm for this. I think that the Christian bodies should maintain high ethical standards for their members. Okay. For those who don't belong to any Christian body because of the freedom of worship, I think that we should use the Constitution and our laws to regulate them. And if anybody is found culpable, let the laws take its course.
Whoa. Let me do a follow-up. Do you think that, for instance, there's a country like Rwanda, and there are certain standards, and you cannot just be a clergy by virtue of saying that you've been called, so they have some standards, it's like standards of practice to be a medical doctor, a lawyer, and all the other professions. You have to meet some. Not to push you to the wall, but do you think that there should be some level of standard in terms of those who lead folks in the church?
You see, Ghana's democracy is tailored along that of the West, and the two leading democracies in Ghana, in the world, America. And the UK. I've been in Rwanda, and I've had interactions with some of our pastors there, and they are not amused at all. Of course, it's difficult to say whether they are practicing 100% democracy. What we see there is a different type of democracy.
Yeah, that's true.
You see, you can't regulate faith. Faith is unique. And therefore, if the state doesn't understand, so for example, over there, they say without a first degree, you cannot be a pastor.
Exactly, that's
I mean, it contradicts the scriptures. Clearly. If you do that, you are cutting off some people. Peter and Co were fishermen. They were illiterates.
That's true.
But Jesus Christ used them.
That's true.
Paul was highly educated.
God is not a respecter of persons.
Perfect. So, going along that tangent, I'm afraid it's not healthy. It's not the best. What I will call for is that I want a government that will rally the religious bodies to come to a roundtable conference. And let's debate on these matters. Let's discuss it. And let the faith-based organizations themselves propose
something.
I believe there is a way out.
That's right.
It's just that we've not averted our mind to thinking outside the box, subjecting our thoughts to how we can get around this particular issue.
Wow. If you are listening and you are close to the powers that be, this is a very wonderful proposal, right, for the government of the day or future governments. And so this is a free consultancy from Dr. Wengam. Instead of giving us what we call a gifted initiative to regulate Christian community or the faith community in Ghana, why don't the government just create the necessary atmosphere and have a roundtable engagement with religious leaders and listen to what they think, and I think that would all be very wonderful and be probably not outside the box. It will be outside the box thinking, so that we can have a solution. And in the space of development, we say ownership. The Christian community or the clergy will own whatever that they suggest as the way forward, rather than somebody going to dream and then giving us, regulating faith or dictating for the faith leaders. And so thank you, Reverend, for this is a very key point to us, and Pali Online is taking cognizance of that in terms of our way forward. So we'll take this question, and then after that, we will go for a short break. And so, Reverend, in your space, as you had your privilege to serve as the chair of the Prisons Council of Ghana, what would you say are some of your legacies in terms of your leadership, in terms of the transformation that we saw within the short time that you served? What will be your legacy?
Right, thank you. I would say that I was privileged to serve on the 5th Prison Council as a member for 4 years.
Whoa.
And then subsequently was appointed as the chair.
Wow.
I served for 1.5 years.
Wow.
In terms of legacy,
wow,
I would say that it is the first has to do with making the prisons self-sufficient.
Whoa.
The prisons is heavily dependent on the government.
Wow.
And because we are developing economy, the last place any government want to pump money is the prisons.
My goodness.
Because of this traditional mindset that everybody there is a criminal. You are unable to take care of the citizens. How much more those who, unfortunately, had issues with the law? But that is a 16th century thinking.
Mindset. That's true.
Yes, they're falling far with the law. That's why you have incarcerated them.
That's right.
You've taken away their freedom.
That's right.
They deserve anything any citizen, is given. So, for example, when I became chairman of Prisons Council, at the time, the government was giving them 80 pesos per prisoner.
Whoa.
For 3 square meals a day.
Unbelievable.
And even that of the profit of the contractor was in it. So by the time they take out the profit, So you can imagine the kind of food that was given to them.
Oh.
So I felt that this couldn't continue. My vision was that we will make the prisons a center of excellence in Africa. So quickly, we launched a 10-year strategic plan.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I knew that comes with money. So we were able to calculate and saw that we need about 26 million cedis every year to be able to meet the aspirations in the 10-year plan.
Wow.
So we launched on the same day alongside what we call Project Ifiase, a self-help initiative where we're bringing on board all stakeholders to contribute freely, voluntarily, so that we can be able to build infrastructure, we can be able to empower the prison officers to reform these unfortunate brothers and sisters of ours. So within 3 months, when I took over, we launched Project Ifiase, and it was a big program. And then I was able to get a certain president for the first time in our history to visit in some prisons.
Wow.
And a month after that, Barack Obama also visited.
Whoa.
And some felt that he took a clue from Ghana.
Wow.
Because all over the world,
hardly do you see the
perfect.
preface.
And what happened? Actually, the Constitution says that the Prisons Council advised the president.
That's right.
But it's on paper.
The implementation
correspondence.
Wow.
So when we took over, I told my team, listen, why don't you seek audience with the president? We wrote a letter, and surprisingly, he granted us audience.
Wow.
When going, I said, listen, let's do an album. Take photos of the deplorable state of the prisons, and then do a 10-minute documentary. So when we paid courtesy call on the president, I showed it to him. He was shocked. Wow. In fact, that is the problem in this part of the world. Our leaders are not given the right briefings on the ground. I remember when he was watching the album and he saw that some of the inmates were sweating. He asked, why are they sweating? Aren't there fans there? And we were shocked to the core that the sitting president thought that there will be fans in Ghana prisons. So then I laid the card on the table, said we have to increase the feeding fee. We need to build infrastructure. We didn't have what they call remand prison.
Yeah,
so
remand. So
the
both of them
and the convicted prisoners were kept in the same place.
Unacceptable.
Leading to inmates becoming hardened criminals. So in his response, he agreed to come to in some prisons.
Wow.
And he said he would come with the Minister of Finance.
Oh, okay.
Then I also paid a courtesy call on the then sitting Chief Justice and invited her. So on that day, the President, Chief Justice, and then the Minister of Finance.
This is historic.
And thank you. Subsequently, right after that, government released 50 million cedis for us to build the first remand prison in Ghana.
Amazing.
By the time I was leaving office, I think they had reached lintel level.
Wow.
Then during my tenure, for the first time, government gave prisons 88 vehicles. In the past, maximum was 8.
Amazing.
And even that, those were vehicles used by other departments. Apart from that, when we launched Project Ifiase, I was able to galvanize Ghanaians to donate only 1 Ghana cedi a year or a month.
Wow.
And we had Bank of Ghana, we had other institutions.
Yeah, corporate Ghana responding, the embassies.
And I visited 23 embassies, paid courtesy call on ambassadors, and about 20 CEOs. And then I went to the Speaker of Parliament for all the stakeholders.
Wow.
We had US government coming on board to partner with us. We had Australia government. We had a couple of embassies in Ghana who came on board. Another legacy I can say that we left was capacity building. At the time, prison officers, no training. They were not abreast with modern trends of prisoner reformation. We introduced capacity building for prison officers, and then an initiative that was started by President Kufuor, we took it to the next level. PPP, where we public-private partnership. So an entrepreneur had come on board.
Wow.
They're about to sign an MOU. So I came in and we signed the MOU where prisons have prime lands at Roman Ridge. People were encroaching on it. So he was going to get lands around in Sawam huge and build an ultra-modern prison facilities. Then we'll swap. But unfortunately, our part of the world. It turned messy. I'm sad for Ghana.
Oh.
And I'm sad for the ordinary prisoners who have missed that opportunity. In fact, he was going to build a prison hospital
My goodness.
Apart from that, during my tenure, we collaborated with the Chief Justice, and then we commissioned a court. For the first time, we have a court at Nsawam. So you don't have to transport the prisoners,
with all the
risk. They didn't even have vehicles, so they use public transport to transport them. I also remember that another thing, Scania, I paid a courtesy call on the CEO of Scania, and then they gave us a bus that could take about almost 80 prisoners anytime we're transferring prison officers. That cost, I think, if I'm not exaggerating, almost 180,000 euros or something. It was a very expensive vehicle. And several other things. We're able to lift the image. We're able to place Ghana Police Service on the national agenda.
Wow.
I paid a courtesy call on the then Director General of National Development Planning Commission. Dr. Nimoy Thompson.
Yeah.
And I was shocked, Brother Frank, that in the Ghana's 40-year plan, prison was missing. So
it was a forgotten area.
It was a timely, they were winding up, and he apologized and put us there. And I'm quoting him. He said, Chairman, you have been able to put the Ghana Prison Service on the national agenda.
Wow.
And within that space, Ghanaians felt and saw that they had to do something about prisons. And I remember, and I want to credit Professor Dankwa, who is part of Pali, Ghana, a professor at Saginaw Valley State University. In fact, he invited me there, and I want to credit Pali Ghana, Frank. I got to know Professor Dankwa through you, and he was amazing. At a point in time, we were going to get that university, their criminal justice department, to link up with the prison training school.
Wow.
So,
for faculty,
we did our best.
Interfaculty exchange.
Perfect. I was able to, I paid a courtesy call on the Vice Chancellor of University of Ghana, and they were prepared to now allow the prisoners to do degree courses.
Oh.
Yes. I don't know. I think it's taking off. One time I saw we had just gone to discuss with him.
Start the negotiation.
Negotiation when our tenure came to a close.
Viewers, our online community, this is amazing. Institutional reforms, institutional transformation, institutional renewal at the very highest order. And I know that you are already excited because this is an ample demonstration of transformational leadership, and that is what we require on this continent and in our country, so that what the legacy of Reverend Dr. Wengam of the Prison Council is, if we have a collection of transformations by transformational leaders, Ghana will be a very better place for all of us. Somebody has observed that in all our doings, we should leave a name and a mark so that even years after our tenure, history shall recall and say in his time. Reverend Dr. Wengam, history will recall and say in your time at the prison, as the Prison Council's chair, ABCD, dramatic changes took place. Thank you for being a wonderful public servant of our republic, and God richly bless you. Viewers, we are going on a short break. Do not lose us. We will be back in a moment. Thank you. Thank you, viewers. So we are back on Pali Online. Your host is Paa-Kumi Frank. I happen to be the chief of Pali Initiatives. And Pali Initiatives consist of Reshape Africa Initiative, which is trying to preserve and conserve the rich cultural heritage of Africa. Pali Center for Human Development. We are also in a consultancy and training hub where we are paying emphasis on talent development, mentorship, and professional skills boosting. Then we have the Pan-African Center for Transformative Society. It is our policy influencing instrument. Then finally, Pali Online, which is our media attaché. And it is through this platform that this interview is being conducted. And before we went on the short break, Dr. Wengam, our guest, was giving us remarkable footprints under his leadership. And some of us were witnesses. He moved from one media house to the other, one embassy to the other, and I kept asking myself, where from this energy? And Project Ifea was everywhere. I remember Asempa FM, OKFM. I was following you, remember? I was following you. So we can identify with the legacy, and it's so evident. And the Bible said that we are surrounded by so great a crowd of witnesses, and I'm one of the witnesses to his legacy right here. Rev, we are back, and I think the interview is getting exciting. So I'm taking you to the national leadership space, and from where you sit as a key leader in the community, faith community, having been a youth having led a youth ministry of a powerful, influential church like AG and all that. What is your take on our leadership response as a people based on, there are two challenges we have as a people. This is one that we call the old age challenges, which if you take daily graphic of 1990, take daily graphic of the newspapers of early 2000, and you consistently to see floods in Accra, road casualties. The data suggests that, Reverend, we've all lost almost 2,000 lives, even in the lockdown, to road accident alone. That's how staring it is. Almost 2,000 lives from January to end of October. And it keeps occurring, and it seems that our ability to fix problem-solving ability in where are down. What is your take on leadership response to both contemporary challenges and our old age challenges?
Well, where do I start from? Well, it is easier said than done. I have not, the closest I have had is when I served as council chair of prisons. But again, I think I can speak to the issue because when I took over, we had nothing. I remember when the planning committee brought their budget was about 300,000 cedis. I said, what? But if we had that money, they can't do a lot for prisons. Why should we go and spend this money on launching Project Ifea? So I just pushed it somewhere. Wow. And I picked my phone and I called all my friends in the media. I said, can you grant me interview slots? And like you rightly said, we moved from one media house to the other, and within a short period, we had gotten the country into the mood where they had seen the need in the prisons.
That's right.
And they were prepared to partner with the prison service. So we don't have an excuse. I think that the problem in Africa is that when people get into position, they don't think of legacy, like Riley said. Number two, maybe the motives.
The motives.
And then number three, I don't know whether it's mediocrity, because we travel outside and we see some of these developments. And I shudder, and I don't understand why people are put into public offices and they just occupy the space. And then when they come out, you ask them, what legacy, what was achieved? And the things they mention, they are laughable. So I don't know. I don't know what will be the way out. But probably we need to introduce a leadership at the basic school level.
Okay.
Perfect. I mean, you see, marriage, family life,
that's right,
and leadership. If I were the president of Ghana,
that's right,
I'll push this into a curriculum.
Wow. Because
these are two things that everybody, once you have long life, you go through it.
That's right. Once you have long life.
Yes, marriage is an important part of our society. And then they go through from kindergarten to university and nothing is taught on family.
Wow.
Then secondly, I was talking about leadership.
That's right.
I mean, of course, we've come to understand that leadership is not only position.
That's right.
It's influence.
That's right.
So people just go through the system, they come out, and then suddenly they are MPs, ministers, and those appointments, they are political appointments. Yeah. So we can just pick somebody from nowhere and then place the person
without
there.
a track record.
That's right. So I think that if we can begin to look at it, and then we must free the hands of our presidents. Okay. You see, the party's overbearing influence on the president sometimes makes the president look as if he has no vision, he cannot do anything. The president have people they think can deliver.
That's right.
But the party has said, these are the foot soldiers, hey, these are those who funded. And then somebody is brought, he can't just perform.
But put him somewhere.
But then the party will insist that you have to do something. So I wouldn't blame our leaders 100%. I think that we need an entire restructuring of our society, our mindset, and we have to really look at the Constitution and begin to deal with these things so that when a leader is elected, he can have the free hand to be able to deliver on his or her vision.
Well, so just in the words of Dr. Wengam, we cannot have business as usual approach to our development. And he rightly suggesting and proposing to the policymakers and the powers that be that can we look at family life, can we look at inculcating leadership skills right from curriculum at the basic level. And Reverend said right, because many things continue to change. Management, they say there's something called change management. I've never heard change leadership. So it means that leadership is will stay with us for it has stayed with us, it's going to stay with us for a very long time to come. And therefore, it is said that everything rise and fall with leadership. So, Rev, having established this, then it means that we need a paradigm shift. We need to abandon, I think you, the bishop, you say that a new wine in a wineskin. Exactly. So, and then the bishop will also say revival. And so that, so do we need revival? Do we need renewal in politics? Do we need to inject something? Because some people have become so disillusioned and they think that there's no hope for tomorrow. They think that the NDC, NPP politics is not taking us anywhere. What do we need, Reverend?
Well, Frank, I really didn't want to go there. And I'll plead that you spare me. You know how sometimes what you say can be twisted and put out of context. Yes. But all I can say that there is hope for this country. Okay. Let's give our leaders the benefit of the doubt. They mean well. Yes, I know sometimes there are challenges and some, but I bet you it is not easy to sit in the place of leadership. If we allow the state organizations to work. If we the citizens will not put undue pressure on our leaders, sometimes our actions make them, do what they do. We cannot extricate ourselves entirely and put all the blame on leadership.
Oh yeah.
Of course, leadership too cannot be extricated just because the citizens. That is why, like you said, everything rises and falls with leadership. Right. So I will say that, thank God for Pali Ghana. We need institutions like Pali Ghana who are apolitical, who should push for certain platform to engage civil society, and then the citizens and those leading us to talk about these things. I believe that there is hope.
I believe that there is hope. These are the echoes from Dr. Wengam right here. And you are on Pali Online. Our guest is the former immediate past chair of Ghana's Prison Council. He is a lead pastor, Cedar Mountain. He is also the West Africa Program Coordinator, Global Leadership. He is our distinguished guest. Bishop, thanks for accepting this engagement. By way of mentioning Pali believes that a leader should have the following elements, or these three ingredients. If it's not seen, then the person is pretending to be leading. Number one, ethical fortitude. Number two, servant leadership. And number three is legacy driven. Would you agree? And if you agree, to what extent?
Perfect. I mean, the problem of the world is lack of these three things. These are three indispensable pillars of quality and true leadership. Because you see, human beings are spirit beings, not just physical beings. And therefore, that's where ethics comes in. Ethics brings sanity in society. Ethics will help you, the leader, to stay away from scandals.
That's right.
Servant leadership, exactly. Our Lord and Master Jesus Christ exemplified that, where he, in the culture of the Jews, when a visitor came to your home, you have to put a bowl of water, like America bucket today, put it there for them to wash their feet because they didn't have vehicles. Perfect. And Christ, and that was done by the servant. And Christ left his seat, prestigious seat as the leader of the team at the time, and went washing the feet of the disciples. Leadership is servanthood, and that is why the first true mark of a leader is humility. So what we need, that's why, and what Barack Obama said when he came to Ghana resonates with me. Africa does not need strong leaders. We need our institutions.
Build institutions.
Yes. What we need are humble leaders. You see, humble leaders. Who remember where they are coming from and who want to serve and not lord it. Who are not coming into power to amass wealth, but rather to sacrifice.
That's right.
To serve the people. So and then legacy driven. And I mentioned that.
Yeah.
I get shocked. I mean, one thing I keep asking myself, what will it be remembered for? Yesterday I was teaching at Bible studies. I spoke about how good to be relevant without limit.
Wow.
And I spoke about how the Bible said that we are the light and the salt of the world. These two elements, they are indispensable in human existence. You cannot live without light.
That's right.
You cannot survive without salt.
That's right.
So Christ was simply saying that be relevant. Relevant means you are making impact. It means that your presence is needed. Relevant means that you are contributing significantly.
Wow.
You are not a low-hanging fruit. Wow. You cannot be dispensed of easily.
Wow.
If you think along these lines, then you begin to ask yourself, if I'm no more, what would I be remembered for?
If I'm no more, what would I be remembered for? And sometimes that's one of the difference between us and the West and the developed countries is that some people even just, if they have the means, construct road, it's named after them. There are lots of foundations. And sometimes it does not necessarily becoming a president or becoming a CEO of a corporation before you can even leave a legacy. We have two more questions and then this interview would be done with Dr. Wengam.
Frank, sorry. You made a statement. Can I just interject and make this statement? Please. You see, in the West, because they have the systems, even if you put somebody who is not visionary there, you perform.
Yeah, that's true.
Seriously, the systems works.
That's true.
They have national policies that binds everybody.
That's true.
But in our part of the world, systems don't work. So even if you are very educated, very visionary, lack of systems can even frustrate your vision.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's not as if those in the West are superhuman beings.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They've learned to build systems. And they've learned to protect the leader from the pest, public pest. So it is difficult to, but in our part of the world, we don't have the systems.
Yeah, it's true.
So it is easy to get away with many, many things. Yeah. So I want to appeal, and again, I'm glad that Pali Ghana is using this platform so that we can re-echo these things. Let us build systems. Let's allow the system institutions to work. Then we are certain that we can rub shoulders with the West.
Right. And just as Rev has observed, I remember some time ago, I had the opportunity to travel to Copenhagen. And Reverend, to my amazement, I was connecting from Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark, to Malmö in Sweden. And with a good coach, a good train system, within 35 minutes, I had connected to another country. And then I bring him home here from Dansoman, where my uncle is, to North Legon. You can spend like hours. And then also at the bus terminals, the system is structured in the way that you can know that the next 5 minutes there's a bus coming. When people close from work and you see them queuing and standing, and they never know when the next bus would even get to the bus, and sometimes when the next bus gets there, it's already full. So Reverend is adding his voice to policymakers, those that have the power to make the system work, and show leadership, and so that we can all have a better nation. This is the only country we have. When we go to Canada, we go to Spain, wherever, we will still come here. So let us all help to contribute to the national development agenda. Reverend, we will be voting in a few days to come. We're going to elect 275 members of parliament and one executive president who will form a cabinet. I have said that if I make a silly mistake, it affects myself, my wife, my bedroom, and people who depend on me. But if the Chief Executive Officer of Ghana Incorporated makes mistakes, generations yet unborn are affected. What qualities should the Christian community look out for in voting for a member of parliament and all that? What are some of the qualities, if you want to share?
Well, I think that what I'll mention are not new.
Okay.
They are time-tested, timeless principles. We need leaders who are humble.
Wow.
For me, it's paramount.
Rev keep mentioning the humility one.
Humility is key. That is what Christ exemplified. And what people don't know is that humility makes you great. Because when you're humble, you don't see yourself above service.
Okay. You don't see yourself above service.
Perfect. And you feel you are accountable to the people who placed you there.
Wow. Humility.
So we need humble leaders.
Wow.
We also need leaders who are God-fearing. Leaders who see leadership as servanthood.
Wow.
I believe that we need leaders who also have a program and a vision.
Who have a
Perfect.
program. Wow.
You see, another part of we don't like reading. The manifesto. If you ask 10 out of maybe 3 out of 10 Ghanaians, you can only get one who have seen or read the manifestos of the two major political parties, and yet so we vote based on emotions. I remember I support Accra House of Food because I inherited it from my father. I agree with my father said phobia. So I'm a phobia fan. There are many things I realized that you inherit from
your
family and other things. So we need to read their programs and then also ask the hard questions. And I believe that this is not impossible to be able to look out for. And then I think that if Ghanaians will pay attention to these important things, I believe that we should be able to elect somebody who will say, well, how do I know? Because some of them you don't know them. Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Wow.
Sometimes just listening to somebody carefully can know what the person is made up of, what is in the person's heart. So I think these are things that we should be able to look out for.
So Reverend has given us some clues, and if he's saying that if you are confused and says you do not know the person, just watch their communication. It reveals a lot about them. Reverend, the final question for this evening. We know that you are so passionate when it comes to young people. And 1st November every year is set by the African Union as the African Youth Day. It was set some 14 years ago by the AU. And so we are in the month of the African youth. Do you think that collectively, stakeholders, we are grooming, or the next generation's future is being secured by policy, education, space of opportunities, etc.? Do you think that as it is now, or we need to do more to secure the next generation?
I think one of the challenges we have in Africa, we are not intentional. You watch the whites, when there is a football match, they will line up young boys who are dressed in jerseys. And they accompany the senior, the players.
Role models.
What are they doing? They are giving them exposure.
Wow.
They are introducing them to football.
Wow.
If you go to the U.S. Assemblies of God Church, for example, during their general council, I mean, they even allowed the youth
Wow.
to even participate.
Wow.
You understand?
Wow.
It's only in Africa.
Wow.
When you are 50, they say you're a small boy. When you are 45, they tell you you are a small boy. And that is why in the U.S., I know an organization where they have introduced leaders under 40.
Wow.
So right through the various level of leadership, they say vote 40% people who are under 40.
Wow.
Because whether we like it or not, the next generation must be prepared. And that is why probably in Africa, we have problems. We keep the younger ones out of decision making.
That's true.
When we are trying to let your fathers go, and it's not helping us. Even at home, we don't even involve the children in decision making.
That's true.
You know, many a times, if you listen to your children in the home, God will use them to teach you many, many things. So I think that we need to discard that behavior and that mentality. And it happens in the church, it happens in the corporate bodies, everywhere. In Africa, I mean, you see somebody who is over 70 years and he says that he's a youth leader of an organization. You see. So I think that we must give room to the young people. Let's give them exposure. Let's bring them close to the place of decision making. You understand?
Wow.
Let's trust them.
Wow.
Let's allow them to make mistakes whilst they are young.
Wow.
Or else we are going nowhere.
Wow.
Sometimes what is painful is that some who are beneficiaries, who were given the platform when they were very young, they get to certain position in the corporate bodies. It happens everywhere.
Wow.
And they want to keep the young ones out.
Wow.
See the case of Saul and David. Why was Saul felt so threatened? He left his presidential palace and was chasing, trying to kill an ant with a sledgehammer. Look at David. What he should have done. But you see, I commend Jonathan.
That's right.
He knew that the kingship was for David.
For David, yeah.
Even though he was per the tradition, he was the next. But Jonathan said, no, I don't think I'm the one. He supported David. I want to see that happen in Africa, in the church, in the corporate world. Look at the developed economies. You go and you see 25 years old, a CEO.
Yeah.
30 years old CEO.
Yeah.
Go to Israel. Do you know what Israel they do? One of my mentors told me a story just about a few days ago. He said he was in Israel. And then he observed something. They met a guy who was about 15 years in charge of a shop. And they thought they could bully the guy. They pleaded for him to reduce. He said no. Then he said, well, then they got to know that his father was in the shop, but the father was seated away. So the father had left, I'm told that's what they do. The father has handed over the shop to the son to run the shop, and the father is seated a distance away. So the woman said, well, then let me go and talk to your father. You know what the boy said? If you go to my father, he will not change. He will stand by what I said. And truly, when they were, the man said, well, the shop is for my father. Wow. So you see what the Israelis are making progress.
Inculcating
into
them already.
Perfect. Wow. We do everything for our children.
Wow. We do everything for our children.
One thing I credit my mother. I started washing my own dress at age 6.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She'll put my panties and singlet and ask me to wash.
Wow.
Then after that, then she'll do it well. You cannot do it, but she was teaching.
Wow.
So don't spoon feed the children. When they come with a problem, ask them, so how do we solve this? When my daughter or son asked me for something, I said, Aethra, go and pray to Jesus, and I'll pray with you. And then I'll say, let's pray. Wow. So even though I have it to give it to her, I'll keep it. After she has prayed, I said, okay, God has answered you, come for it. Wow. What am I teaching her? I'm teaching her to know how to go to the provider.
That's right.
So back to Africa, I think that we must get to that place in Africa. let's stop this small boy. Somebody is a small boy. And I repeat, 50-year-old is a small boy in Africa. 45 is a small boy.
When will
40
you
is a
get
small
to
boy.
our turn?
When will they get? We were, Barack Obama was president.
Yeah.
And look at the Constitution. It says that if you are 40 with some, I can be president. If the Constitution says that we can entrust the whole country into the hands
of a 40-year-old,
then what are they talking about? Which other position is more than? In the Bible, we saw, teenagers becoming kings.
God using young people.
And sometimes we see we threw the baby in the dirty water away. Don't blame the youth of this generation.
Okay.
I was talking to one of them this morning. I on the back of Tuesday teaching, I very tough. I descended heavily.
Okay.
On them, talking about some of the indisciplined behaviors of the young people. He said, Pastor,
social media stuff.
Pastor, we agree, but Pastor, it's not easy. Everywhere around us, there's corruption.
Yeah,
there's sexual immorality.
That's true.
My time was a bit better. Our father's time, they didn't have social media. You have to go to the place where they sin to be tempted. Now,
it can be brought to your room.
It's brought to your doorstep. They walk out there and the women are naked. Oh yes, and you can't close your eyes. So if you see the young people indulging, they don't condemn them. Hey, you're undisciplined. When we're young, I bet you, if they are to move you, that 50-year-old man into the generation, you mess up even more than they are doing. Let us trust the young people.
Wow.
Let us believe in them. Let us give them, let's equip them. Let's invest in their training.
Let's invest in their training.
So that tomorrow, by the time they are ready to take over, they are prepared.
Wow. Viewers, I told you he is so passionate about young people, and today, if you observe, he has taken his time properly to address these issues, and that demonstrates his love for young people. He doesn't just speak and he doesn't just throw ideas. He is an exemplary leader, because I'm one of his congregants, and I can tell you that some years ago at the Adisa School, when we had the youth camp and Reverend was handing over, I was like, why? I was just asking myself, why should Reverend hand over the youth mantle? And later I realized that he's a kind of leader who does not want to, number one, overstay his welcome. Number two, to create space for other leaders to emerge. Some of us questioned his decision at that time, but he was very intentional. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my guest has been a clergy, a Christian leader who has prepared himself both for corporate space and the pulpit. He has gone through all the mill. He's been associate pastor from Committee 4 AG through to Glory Assemblies of God. He's been director of administration, etc., etc. And whatever he talks about, he lives it. He's so diplomatic, and sometimes the level of humility is unimaginable. I know that after listening to him, after watching this, you have taken clues, you have taken words of inspirations and wisdom, and therefore we are so much grateful. Pali Online is grateful. Dr. Stepehn Wengam, the lead pastor of the mega church, now at Shashi, East Legon. You want to visit, it's a mega church, exploit is going on, and you need to visit one of these days. If you are not even a member, you are welcome. Just come and visit. Let's have a pleasant evening. This has been Pali Online, Thought Leader Series, slot number 5. Thank you, everybody, for watching this.